Okay, what's going on, everybody? My name is Mangg. Welcome back to Hanging with Mangg. Episode 222. Shockingly. Today we're playing Final Fantasy Tactics A2 for the Nintendo DS. And so yeah, I've been doing Let's Plays of the Final Fantasy Tactics games. So I've got the first original game done, I've got Final Fantasy Tactics Advance done, and now I'm working my way through this one. So it's been clipping along nicely, a lot of tactics for me this week. And this one's actually really good. I've been really enjoying this one so far. They got the formula down pretty good. I'm sad they didn't make any more games after this. But, yeah, so I'm just going to be doing, like, clan trials and stuff like that. Nothing too exciting. Be a little loud. So, this week on this channel, we've had some Monster Boy, which is a very entertaining game. I've been enjoying that. I think we're nearing the end. Probably gonna finish it this week, I would think, but you never know. And then we started up Final Fantasy 12. So that's gonna go on throughout January, I'm sure. Yeah. That's that. We had Roll Manging, of course, and I think that's sort of about it. Once Monster Boy is done... Oh, boy. Let me take a glance at Steam real quick. Maybe there's something really interesting. But I don't know. I don't know. Not especially. I'd have to look at some like releases for January, but even then, I don't know. I mean, I know Kingdom Hearts 3 is coming out. I wasn't planning on doing a Let's Play of that, to be honest. I mean, I think it's probably going to be Doom. But I need to see what I would even do after Doom. There's the Resident Evil 2 remake in late January. I don't know, because if I do a full Resident Evil series playthrough, which is something I'm sort of pondering, I'd probably wait on that. But I don't know. Then you have to wait till February. And even then, February, I don't know what I'm going to... Like, it's all sort of week. I mean, there's always like cool indie games that I don't know about. You know, I can't really look into the future as easily for indie stuff. So, I mean, Anthem comes out in February, but that doesn't seem like a real LP kind of thing. I mean, really, the next big game that I really am expecting to do a Let's Play of is Sekiro in March. So, I'll poke around, I'll see if there's any cool sort of indie type games that I haven't done that are fresh and cool, but otherwise I have a lot of videos sitting on my hard drive that I can just upload. So I don't need to keep recording new stuff. But I know new games tend to bring in more viewers, but that's not really my concern. So I would say definitely expect Doom to start after Monster Boy is done. And that's a fun game. I had a fun time with LP, so it should be pretty solid. Oh shit, if attacking, I don't know. Yeah. So I guess that's it for now until I decide otherwise. On the Exploring series this week, I uploaded a video on SCP-184, which I thought was pretty good. I liked that video. People seem to like it. Didn't really shatter any records, although if it wasn't for last week's video, it would have broken a record. So really it's just because the last video was so good. Yeah. So then on Thursday I did a live Q&A, which I was certainly worried about. I had my concerns. You know, it's always since I don't do live much, you know, on that channel, I'm not well experienced with it, but it went pretty well. I think I didn't really get hit with any hard questions or anything like that, so it was pretty enjoyable. And I'll maybe try to do a live Q&A every month if possible. I think that would be good. Interact with the fans and all that. You know, I thought it would have had slightly higher view counts since we've had so many new subscribers since the last live Q&A I did, but really it was about the same. Nothing really changed there, so it's just you have that core group, I guess, that's interested in live Q&As, and that's it for now. You know, maybe when I'm at 500,000 subscribers, I get a few more people, but that's fine. So then this week I worked on a video for SCP-4666, which is the Yule Man. Pretty disturbing stuff. Not that hard of a video to work on, although I struggled with the artwork to use, of course. You know, I'm not going to really find art of the Yule Man or anything resembling him, because he's like a weird, naked old guy in the snow. It's like there's not going to be many kosher pictures or artworks that I can use of that. And it's like I didn't want to fill the video with like horrific gore or something like that. That's how you get demonetized pretty quickly, so that's not really good. So I'm like, I don't know, just get a bunch of pictures of like cabins in the winter that are sort of isolated, and it'll sort of evoke the right feeling, I guess. And I threw in some other somewhat random stuff of like monsters in the snow, Krampus, and other sort of weird-looking creatures-ish, and it came together. I'm not in love with it, but, you know. I do what I can. That's really all that's it. That's it. You know, it's just maybe there was a better approach, but there's no other. No one is doing what I am doing. You know, like, I can't look to other people for inspiration, like, oh, what did they do for this kind of stuff? It's like, oh, well, there's no such thing. You know, SCP Illustrated is similar to what I do, although they just do mostly readings from what I understand. And they sort of sketch all of the art in their videos. They, you know, they do all the art in their videos. The problem is I think it looks really bad. I just don't like that sketched art style. But I will give them the benefit that all of their stuff in their videos, all the artwork, is extremely specific to what they're talking about. Which is really good, and you know, that's why they're popular. But I just look at that, and I would never put that in a video. Even if it was super specific, no. I'd rather have something generic that looks great, that I would use as like a wallpaper for my background or something, than something very specific that I would cringe when I look at. Not to sound too harsh. This game is Final Fantasy Tactics A2 on the DS. So it's you know, that's sort of my Christmas special. You know, I could have maybe done a Christmas SCPs video, sort of like Halloween SCPs, but I felt that the Yule Man sort of deserved his own video, and there was enough content there for like a 12-minute video, give or take. Actually, it was like 13 minutes. So with that in mind, it's really in my best interest, and probably the viewer's best interest, for him to get his own video. You know, maybe next year I'll do a Christmas SCPs, but for now we made it work. My actual Christmas special, though, releasing on Christmas Day, is going to be an audiobook of The Festival by H.P. Lovecraft. I'm pretty sure I already mentioned this, but I started working on that. I think it's going to turn out pretty good. Did I already break the rules? It says I'm not allowed to use MP, but I'm almost certain I use this ability. I wonder if he penalizes you at the end. I was not thinking, I was just talking. So, you know, it's going to be like a... I don't know how long it'll be. 25 minutes, maybe? Long audiobook, give or take. You know, it's pretty easy. There's no, like, voice... I don't have to do, like, character voices or anything like that. So, it's a pretty easy story to read. And... I don't know. It probably won't be the most popular video, but it's something pretty light for me to put out on Christmas. I don't have to work too hard, and it is what it is. Then I think the following video I'm going to work on, starting tomorrow, or Tuesday, or no, I don't know when I'll work on it. Sometime this week. I think it's going to be SCP-354. Let me double check. Hello. It's tied right now between 354 and 3,999. One of those videos is a lot easier for me to do. So I'm hoping... I mean, if it stays a tie, I get to just pick 354. So that would be fine. But, you know, I will listen to whatever wins the polls. Yeah, so Christmas being on a Tuesday this year is a little annoying. Since that's, you know, we do stuff on Christmas Day, of course. We got the whole family. And then the day after Christmas, we have sort of a immediate family sort of day of opening some gifts and relaxing and hanging out. And so both of those days are pretty filled. But those are also, you know, prime days of the week when I normally do all my research and writing. So it's a little obnoxious. I either have to, like, work on Christmas, which is never ideal, or really rush things towards the end of the week, which is also not ideal. I don't know what I'll do. First world problems, I guess. Yeah, so that's where it's all at. Moving on then. Talking about roll manging, I suppose. Where did we leave off? Right, so we were in the starport on Avalon. We had just had this run-in with the Empress's guards. We barely managed to escape. And so I told Thomas to go with Hoshi. Take the ship, the Excelsior, and turn the palace into a big crater. That was what I instructed them to do. And so they headed off. But before they did, the rest of us grabbed our power armor. We were going to get armored up. So the rest of us then headed on to the bulk freighter that was also docked there, that belonged to the Explorers Guild. And so I made it clear that half of the point of using power armor was intimidation, and the other half was anonymity, because we had, you know, visors and stuff, and they couldn't see our faces. And I'm sure our voices could be a little modulated and blah, blah, blah. So we storm onto the bulk freighter. We're greeted by, like, 2 security guards, and we quickly intimidate them into dropping their weapons. Experiment. fuck? And we take them as hostages as we head towards the bridge of the ship. It honestly seems like a really powerful ability. So we head to the bridge, and I inform the captain that I'm not here to steal the ship. I'm not here to steal the cargo. I'm here for transportation. And I basically explained to him that I want them. We are hijacking the ship, but I want them to transport us and the population of this planet to somewhere else in the sector. Okay. That was it. That was the whole arrangement. And he didn't really have a choice, technically. I mean, he could, of course, refuse, but I don't think it would be in his best interests. So, you know, he agreed. And he became more amiable as time went on. Because he realized that we were doing a good thing, you know, for these people. He approved. And so you know, Thomas and Hoshi were destroying the palace. I sent studs to go to, like, the broadcast station in Avalon City in order to broadcast a message to all the people that we are fleeing this planet, come to this bulk freighter, we will take you to New Avalon, and we will, you know, start a new chapter in Avalon's history. The Empress is dead, basically. Which was not confirmed, but I think I might have said she is no longer in power, which was definitely the case. And so people immediately started, like, packing up their shit. They had had enough of this planet, so that was good. And so Thomas and Hoshi had done some good work on the palace. They'd killed a bunch of people, and it was pretty much gone, but it had a sort of, like, panic room that was far more reinforced, like 4-foot thick walls and stuff that they could not break through with their weaponry. And so it's possible that the bulk freighter had some weapons as well, but I decided, no, this is a personal thing that I'm doing. You know, I alone have initiated this attack against the Empress, so I'm gonna finish it. So I had Thomas come pick me up and drop me off near the palace. I grabbed a rocket launcher and some demolition charges, and I just walked in. And so I approach the panic room, and I'm greeted outside of the panic room by, like, an ambassador of some kind. And he wants to know what I'm doing, and I say I'm here to, you know, dethrone the Empress as I hold a rocket launcher. Classic Arnold style, I suppose. And he immediately, like, starts rushing back towards the panic room while yelling for help. But of course, I'm a teleporter, so good luck. So I teleport, like, right in front of him as he's running with my rocket launcher, and I'm like, just get the fuck out of here. You know, I don't need him to die. So he runs off, and I start setting up some demo charges on the door, because I'm planning to, like, try and blow the door off its hinges. But it went even better than that, because while I'm, like, crouched down working on this, the little panel on the door opens up so they can look out, and they don't really see anybody. And so they're like, Ambassador? And they start opening up the door. This worked better than I could ever planned. Because there really wouldn't have been a way for me to get them to open the door. But that Ambassador really helped things out. So they open up the door. My demo chargers are set up on the front of the door. So the demo chargers are now inside the room. And I teleport a little bit away and I hit the detonator. And so the entire room just explodes. It was a pretty big room, actually. It was like a chapel almost. And so it did not kill everybody, but it certainly did some work. And so I fired in like 2 rockets into the room just to deal with even more stuff. Smoke is billowing out, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just sort of standing there with my revolver, waiting. And eventually 2 guards come out. And they are in fighting condition. So I teleport next to one. I blow his head off with my revolver. It's all good. And then I start sort of struggling against the other one. He's got like a sword. He's trying to cut me, but I'm in power armor. And I'm trying to shoot him, but it's a little, you know, we're sort of struggling here. And he shouts to the Empress to run, you know, get out of here. And so she, like, dashes past us to try to get out of the palace another way. And I contemplate, like, just giving up on this guy and just going after her, but I'm like, I gotta finish this bastard. So eventually I do put him down. And I manage to teleport she's just still in range. So I teleport just in front of her. And I got my revolver in her face. And I don't even remember what I said. I think I tried to say something badass. I don't remember if it was or was not badass. You'd have to check the stream. But I said something, and then I just filled her face with lead. And that was the end of the Empress. That, yeah, technically I did put in power. So it was my fault, and I had to correct the problem. And so there I did. And so then I just sort of hopped out of the palace and started walking away. But there was another team of guards that met up with me just outside of the palace. And they were apparently missing with an action is forbidden. Oh my god. Okay, don't miss. I'm glad that's really in my control. So the guards met up with me, and they were okay with the Empress being dethroned. They weren't big fans of her either. And they had heard the message that I was taking people to New Avalon. And they wanted to come with. And so I think I did some precog to see if they were planning to just like stab me in the spine before we got anywhere. But they seemed on the level, and I was like, you know what, sure. You are citizens of Avalon. You are my people. Of course you can come with. And so that's what we did. We got picked up by Thomas. And we started just shuttling people to the bulk freighter. A lot of people. Thousands and thousands of people. And so I put Mert in charge of being the administrator of all this. Handling all the logistics, you know, food, water, how these people are all going to, like, be situated in this bulk freighter during the journey. All that kind of stuff. He was in charge because, well, he had the administer skill. So did I. So I could have been the administrator as well. But really, you know, I just like to divvy up responsibilities. And so that seemed like a fine job for him to handle. So yeah, basically, fuck, because I missed. Oh my god. How is that in my control? Literally, I tacked it from behind. There was no better chance of me hitting. And I just... God. What was I talking about? Right, so we just started shuttling people in. We ended up getting... God, I think the final count was in the 20,000s? Something like that. It was definitely many thousands of people. And it's not going to be a comfortable journey for them. But based on our analysis, our calculations, we should make it there. Luckily, the bulk freighter actually did have food that they were transporting. The food was actually for Avalon. They were going to trade it to them in exchange for Azurite. And so I wanted to purchase some food from them. The problem was they wanted Azurite. And they wanted to, you know, report this. You know, they were going to have to report this whole incident in one way or another to their authority, to their bosses. They thought it would go over a little bit better if they had managed to get Azurite in exchange for the food. And so they brought back some Azurite, because this was a really valuable thing. I was like, okay, Azurite. I don't want to sit here for a week or something to try and get more Azurite off the planet somewhere. So Azurite was going to be pretty limited. We did get a little bit while we were attacking the palace with the ship. There was a cannon that like fired a couple Azurite rods at us, so we actually did get some Azurite from that. And there were some guards, some palace guards, the ones that we had killed on like the tram. They were wearing Azurite armor and stuff, so we did get some from that. All of the guards that we had brought with us, the ones that had sort of turned coat or whatever and joined up with us, they were wearing Azurite armor as well, but they believed that it belonged to them. They believed that they owned it now. It was not the property of the Empress or of Avalon, it was theirs. Which is a problem, because these guys already seem a little unsteady. And normally I would not care that much if they wanted to keep the Azurite, but I'm in a pickle. One, because we actually had a problem where as people were boarding the ship, no one was directing them really where to go, and so they were just setting up shop wherever they wanted, and it was not very efficient, and there was arguments and all this sort of stuff. And so I decided to employ the soldiers, the guards, as like the police during the trip, so that they enforced, you know, they stopped any fights from breaking out, and they enforced, you know, rule, so that we didn't have anarchy. And so I did that because they were the most uniquely qualified to do, you know, guard work, security work. And also, they had the armor and weapons that made them stand out. And so I was like, okay, they can keep it, you know, because I don't want to cause any trouble with them, and I need them to sort of secure things and blah, blah, blah. But the problem is, the main problem that I had was once we get to New Avalon, you know, once we get to our destination, almost everyone is going to be on an equal footing, because practically none of these people are wealthy in any way. They're all like poor miners and stuff like that. Except the only people with stuff of real value are going to be these guys, who are already, like I said, a little unstable, a little maybe power hungry, and could very easily become basically like warlords of New Avalon. That was my concern. And maybe that's unfounded, but now that I've mentioned it as a problem to Ziggy, I know that's exactly what he'll do. So, one way or another, I have to deal with these guys. Either, you know, removing their armor and weapons in some way, or doing something else with them. Now, like I said, these guys are pretty much my people, you know. They're really no different than anyone else. It's just they're in a unique position. And I don't really want to penalize them for something that they haven't done yet. You know, they haven't used their wealth and power to become warlords yet. And maybe that'll never happen. So, you know, me killing them just because that might happen is really sort of a villain thing to do. So I really have no idea what to do. Because I don't want to be the police, the secret police of New Avalon. You know, I don't want to sit there for a few months and make sure, oh, everything's okay and everyone's getting along and there's no tyrants and, you know, blah, blah, blah. I have other big things to do. I don't know. I don't know, man. Also, while we were preparing to leave, I get contacted by an individual who we had heard of before, but we had never met. And he was like the local surface warlord that we had heard about, that roamed the vacuum surface of Avalon without a vacuum suit. And it was said that he was like some immortal or something like that. And so he actually contacted me. And he basically wanted control of Avalon. Instead of this Empress. And then when I killed the Empress, he was, you know, glad to hear that. And so I'm like, you know what, you can have the planet. It's all yours. We're leaving. And he was fine with that. But then, basically, he had this side deal going on where he wanted... He had this tablet or something. He had this artifact that was like a data repository of Avalon's history. And it had all these like ancient schematics and stuff like that. It was especially valuable to me, but valuable to plenty of people. You know, these schematics were something sort of unique and special if you could, you know, build on them. And so he was willing to trade this to me in exchange for Azurite. But of course, we had a limited supply of Azurite, as I said, and we had to give some to the bulk freighter in exchange for food, which we needed. Now, of course, we did not need to give anything to the bulk freighter since we were hijacking it. But remember, I'm not playing a villain. I really want to be a good guy. I don't want to screw over the crew of the bulk freighter really at all. So I want them to come out of it with their careers still intact, if possible. So I do want to give them a bunch of Azurite. They were really hoping for, like, I don't even know what it was, like 150 pounds, 200 pounds of Azurite or something like that. And I ended up giving them, like, 15 pounds. Because we had 23, I think. So I was like 15 pounds of Azurite to them, and 8 pounds of Azurite to this warlord. Plus a bunch of credits. And he agreed to this deal, and I was like, okay. I want the tablet, But I also would like to deal with a problem of mine, indirectly. And so I sent the soldiers, wearing their Azerite armor and weapons, I sent them to go complete this deal with the Warlord. And my hope was that maybe the Warlord would see all this sweet Azerite armor and weapons in front of him, and he would just kill these guys and take it for himself. And then that would solve my problem. I sent along Studs' character to the meet, like, stealthy. Like, he was out of sight. So that if that went down and they all died, he could still step in and be like, look, we gave you what you want, we gave you extra. Katsu sent these guys on purpose so you would do this, but, we want the tablet. Because, if we don't get that out of this, then there's going to be trouble. I'm going to send the Excelsior to just blow you up. Or whatever. That's what I was hoping. And so the deal went down completely clean. Nothing happened. We traded off the stuff. We got the tablet, which is good, but I still had this problem of these soldiers, so I wasn't quite sure what to do with that. But yeah, we got everybody situated, and so I was sort of doing some precog work and some research to try and figure out where New Avalon is going to be. And so I looked at a few planets, and the one I settled on, I couldn't tell you the name of. It checked all the marks of things that I like. Breathable air, good atmosphere, temperate, very Earth-like from a glance. But it did have, like, a I don't even know the term for it. An alien... No, what the fuck is it? Biosphere. It's not a native biosphere. I think that's what it was. So it's sort of an alien planet where there's different, maybe like... It says, for one reason or another, life simply never evolved on these worlds, leaving them a blank slate for the agricultural and ecological efforts of humans. If the world is otherwise amenable to Terran life, such planets can be enormously fertile and agriculturally rich, which is pretty good. But they can also be disasters waiting to happen. Pre-tech xenobiologists compiled standardized colonization packages of plants, animals, and insect life designed to expand smoothly and evenly to fill the niches of an uninhabited world. And not all colonists implemented these packages correctly, and some worlds had disasters or special circumstances that destabilized their efforts. So, could be in a constant biological flux. So, it could be really, really perfect, or it could be shit. And that largely depends. There's actually, like, no population on the planet. It's like a failed colony or something like that. Or maybe an outpost. There's almost nobody on here, is from what I can tell. But the real problem is the world tags. I don't know them. No one knows almost anything about this planet. Apparently, the Explorers Guild recently sent an exploratory mission to the planet, but we couldn't find any info about that. So I don't know anything about the world tags. It could be really disastrous, but I am a precog, and so for the first half of our journey there, I was doing precognition work to try and scope out the planet. And we were like right at the end of the session, so Ziggy did not tell me anything about it. And I was like, all I want to know is, have I found any reason not to go to this planet? And he said no. So, from the surface, at the very least, it looks very good. There's going to be problems, of course. This is an RPG. But that's probably just going to be, you know, little problems that we can solve once we're there. You know, of course I'm going to have to babysit this colony a little bit, but I don't want to be the ruler of it. I just want to be, you know, an assistant. Because I'm got them into this new mess, so I need to make sure that they can survive it. So our problem is, right now the only problem is fuel. The bulk freighter just does not have enough fuel to go all the way to this planet. And so we have to stop at a refueling station. And if I know Ziggy, something horrible is going to happen there. But I am a precog, so I should know that something horrible is going to happen there. And I had already asked about an alternative where we use the fuel scoop from the Excelsior to sort of siphon fuel into the bulk freighter, bypassing the need for any refueling station. The captain of the bulk freighter said it's theoretically possible if we had a really good pilot, which, of course, we do. So, if I sense something's wrong at the refueling station, we're just going to do that instead. It has its own complications, but I guess depending on the problem at the refueling station, I'll see what I decide. So, yeah, the plan is to get these people set up on New Avalon and basically make it like the hub for a republic. You know, I don't want... Well, okay, that's a lie. I wouldn't mind if New Avalon became like the greatest power in the galaxy. As not power perhaps, but like the wealthiest, you know, the greatest planet that everyone wants to live on. I wouldn't mind that, because these are my people, like I said. But I want there to be like a republic. You know, I want there to be this alliance, a coalition of planets and systems and stuff. And so I think at the start, it probably works best if New Avalon is sort of the neutral ground, where all of the, you know, ambassadors and stuff from different planets can meet up with. So we're not favoring one specific planet within this alliance that is, like, going to lend more credence and more power to them, and then we just get a runaway problem. You know, that could happen with New Avalon, but it's certainly far, far off. So, at the start, at the least, it's going to just be a neutral place, a neutral meeting place for the New Republic to fight against the Drethic Empire, or whatever problem might arise. That's the idea. Now, that's difficult. There'd be a lot of work ahead of us, but it's a much loftier goal than scavenging. And, you know, Katsu sets his sights pretty high. So we'll see how it goes. There's plenty of excitement left for us. You know, great game, great RPG, great campaign. Enjoying it all so far. Alrighty, I guess that's probably about it. I did see Aquaman on Friday, opening night. You know, I'm not the hugest Aquaman fan. There aren't many huge Aquaman fans, I don't think. Pisses me off a little bit that there is a live-action, big-budget Aquaman movie before a Flash movie. But that's where we're at. I would say it's probably the second best DC Universe film, cinematic universe film that they've made. Which, you know, if I was to say that about Marvel, that would be really good. Like, a second best Marvel film. Wow. But in the DC universe, that's not saying quite as much. Especially because I would rank Wonder Woman as the best, and I didn't even really love that one that much. Aquaman had its moments. Visually, gorgeous film. Just gorgeous. At times, like, there were a bunch of shots during that film that's like, that's a fucking wallpaper right there. That's gorgeous. So I'll give them that. One of the best looking, like, superhero movies. What else was good? A bunch of the fight scenes were pretty exciting. I'll say that. You know, you can have bad action, and you can have good action. I would rank it as pretty good. Amber Heard is always good. To be perfectly honest, I would have rather just seen a movie about Amber Heard's character. Not only because, you know, it's Amber Heard, but I think she had just, like, a better power set. A cooler power set than Aquaman. For a lot of the movie, Aquaman, he's just, like, you know, punching people and throwing them around and stuff like that. He's just using, you know, like, muscle stuff. Whereas she, you know, she's an Atlantean, so she's durable. She can punch people, but also, she was a waterbender. I don't know if this is spoilers or not, but whatever. Like, she could control liquids. And for a bunch of the movie, she's just, like, doing stuff with water, as you would expect. But there's a scene where they're in, like, a fight in, like, an Italian village. And she, like, busts open all these wine bottles. And she turns the wine into, like, crystallized spikes. And she just shoots them at some guys. And it's like, holy shit. I want to see a movie about her. Because meanwhile, Aquaman's just like, here, take my punches. Let's see. Willem Dafoe was good, of course. Yeah, I'm a big Patrick Wilson fan. He really sort of hammed it up for this one. I'd almost say it's sort of outside his normal range. He definitely lended to the cheesy feeling of most of the movie, which is probably my biggest downside of the film, is that a lot of it felt very cheesy. There were plenty of moments where I was like, this would not be out of place in, like, an SNL parody of the movie, you know? Like, this shot is what I would expect to see in a parody, not the actual film. And I know they didn't want to be too serious, because a too serious Aquaman movie is just ridiculous. Like, it's Aquaman. So it can't be too serious. And so they decided to go pretty cartoonish with it, as sort of live action, which is fine, but at times it was like, I don't know what they were thinking, with, like, these slow motion shots of Jason Momoa just, like, you know, staring at the screen, and it's just like, what the fuck? Why did they think this was a great idea? There were a bunch of shots that I would expect to see in, like, a 90s Aquaman movie. Like, early 90s. Just a far cheesier look at superhero movies. Which maybe some people really like. It bothered me. And I thought the writing, a lot of it was just atrocious. Like, really, if you've seen the trailers, and you thought the trailer dialogue, like, part of it was really corny and cheesy, that's what most of the movie is. You get what you get. Like, some of those lines should never have been written. And then, to be delivered by Jason Momoa, who, honestly, I don't think is that good of an actor. I don't. I don't think he's that great of an actor. I mean, physically, of course, he's certainly fit for the part. Absolutely. And I think that's why you get these slow motion shots of him shirtless and staring at the screen and stuff. And he tended to sort of play like an aloof kind of goofball at times, which I think is sort of written for him and his acting style. But I don't know, some of it still put me off. So, you know, overall, like I said, it's probably second best DC movie, and I would probably recommend it if you like superhero films. Visually, like I said, just gorgeous at times. Like, the stuff of Atlantis, and when they, like, the climax of the film, I'm not even going to spoil it. Like, there's some crazy good-looking stuff going on. But it's not a movie that I'm like, oh yeah, fuck, yeah, the DC Universe, it's back in action, baby, they're doing it. It's like, well, it was good. But, you know, like, the trailers before the movie played, one of them was Avengers Endgame, and it's like, you know, my hype level for that movie is off the charts, whereas my hype level for the next DC Universe movie is like, what is the next DC Universe movie? So I don't know. It's a fine step in a good direction, I guess, but they've got a long way to go still. Especially because earlier this week I saw Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which was fucking amazing. Absolutely amazing. Amazing Spider-Man. Like, we've had a lot of superhero movies now, but we have not had that many comic book movies. And that movie sets the gold fucking standard for comic book movies. Like, I want to rewatch it right now. It was so good. And I like Spider-Man quite a bit. I do like the character quite a bit. So I think that helps. But, like, everything is so good in that movie. All the voice acting, the visuals, the soundtrack, the writing, the story. Like, it's all so good for a comic book movie. Really incredible. So I hope we get more animated comic book films of that caliber. Because when you're doing animation, you can do a lot of things visually that would either not work in live action or would be very difficult to pull off convincingly. Animation allows for a lot wilder stuff, and they definitely capitalized on that with the plot and all that. But I would love to see, like, a Hulk animated movie of that caliber. That would be amazing. So yeah, of the two movies, there's really no comparison. Go watch Spider-Man if you have not. But, you know, Aquaman, not too bad. Alright, that wraps us up. So, check out the Yule Man video tomorrow. You know, I got the Festival audiobook on Christmas Day, if you got nothing better to do. We got the rest of Monster Boy this week, and some more Final Fantasy XII. My name is Mangg. This has been Hanging with Mangg, and I'll see you fine folks next week. Happy holidays.